Nikola Jokic is playing perfect basketball. Within the last week, he's had several masterclasses, 21, 19, and 15 without missing a shot, 29, 15, and 14 with just 5 missed shots, 32, 16, and 16 to obliterate the red-hot Golden State Warriors on national TV in a game I had the pleasure of watching in person. The man is absolutely unstoppable. A little over 3 years ago, I called Jokic the best offensive center ever. That was actually the subject of the first ever video breakdown on this channel, and since then, he's only gotten better. A lot of people pushed back on that claim for a long time. We all remember how ridiculous the discourse surrounding Jokic got last year, but after what he did in the title run, his status as the GOAT offensive big became pretty undeniable. Jokic blends the unstoppable scoring of his best predecessors with mind-blowing efficiency and completely unrivaled playmaking at the position. The conversation now is whether he's the greatest offensive player ever, period. Jokic is in one specific, very special tier in NBA history. He's one of only 3 players ever, in my opinion, who's made a legitimate case as the best scorer and passer in the league simultaneously, along with LeBron and Oscar Robertson. And even out of those 3, I'd argue Jokic has the strongest claim to both titles. I'd imagine the best scorer claim will elicit more surprise. There's obviously players who exceed him in regular season volume, but scoring ability isn't just about volume. It's about how unstoppable you are. And I'd argue no man leaves defenses more truly helpless in single coverage than Jokic. Even compared to Luka Doncic, Jokic can get a great shot at will for himself more easily because of his unparalleled combination of size, strength, and touch shot making. To say Jokic has the best paint touch we've ever seen would be an understatement. Since the NBA started tracking this data in 1997, not a single other player who makes at least 2 shots per game inside the paint but outside the restricted area has ever shot 60% from that range. Jokic is doing it for the 4th time in 5 seasons. He leads the league in makes from that range and is converting over 61% of those attempts. 25 other players make 2 such shots per game, and no one else is above 55.2%. That is a huge difference, and it's consistent year after year. And it is genuinely impossible to keep Jokic from getting to that range. He can bully any defender on the planet to get to his spots, and if you throw him the ball in the post, he has innumerable counters. Looney tries to force him into the spin here, so he fakes that way, then goes to the hook, which he's made 64% of since the start of last season. The combination of power and body control on these back downs and spins into absurd touch shot making is completely unmatched. He gets from the 3-point line to the rim here against a 245-pound center in 2 seconds. He can back you down into a simple turnaround over either shoulder, and even if you play him perfectly, his footwork is so absurd and he's so big that he can sombor shuffle to create space and still get a good look, and he's made over 62% of his turnaround jumpers since the start of last season. I want to reiterate how insane these numbers are. He's making these tough shots with layup efficiency. Jokic post-ups feel automatic. He's awesome at using defenders' leverage against them to spin to the rim and has the premier mastery of fakes and post footwork in the league. Here, he spins left, pump fakes, then spins back right, just perfect. And he's maybe the strongest dude in the league, again. This is why you cannot guard Jokic in single coverage. You cannot make him a scorer because he's the best scorer on the planet. Remember when the Suns left him mostly in single coverage for a playoff game, and he gave them 53 points on 74% true shooting with 11 assists still, as the Nuggets posted an offensive rating of 133, and the narrative was that that worked. Well, it obviously didn't, and Phoenix only survived that game because KD and Book went nuclear offensively, but that's the thing. Nothing works against Jokic. He went through arguably the 3 best defensive bigs in basketball in last year's playoffs, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, and Bam Adebayo, and left all of them scrambling for solutions to him as a scorer and finding none, as he averaged 30 points per game on 63% true shooting. He was too big, too strong, and too skilled for all of them. That's why he has the throne as the league's best scorer to me. In those playoff environments, he's boasted the most impressive combination of scoring volume and efficiency over the last few years. When the intensity of playoff defenses ratchet up and physicality picks up and the adjustments come flying in, if you are physically dominant and can control the paint without having to get all the way to the rim because then teams can build a wall, and you have multiple ways to still get to a shot that you can make at a 60% clip no matter what, you're unstoppable. No matter what you do, the guy just doesn't really miss. So Jokic scores with outstanding efficiency in these one-on-one settings, but the Nuggets are every bit as dominant when he passes because he's also the best passer in the league. In fact, he's an even better passer than scorer. When a perimeter player digs on a Jokic post-up, he perfectly times the kick out to a shooter so they can't recover. But if help comes from the paint, well, that's an easy lob to Aaron Gordon. No matter the angle, he'll get it there. Or it's a perfectly timed bounce pass to a cutter. His touch and placement on interior passing, wrapping around, and going over defenders is unrivaled. Or he can just trick you to get what he wants. Watch how he forces the entire defense to sink in here, then locks his eyes on the wing shooter to move this defender and floats this perfectly to Watson in the dunker spot instead. His fancy, unpredictable deliveries of the ball, no look and touch passes make him effectively impossible for a defense to read. His vision and awareness of where all his teammates are on the court is second to none, and he's really never rattled. He is always a step ahead of the defense. And at his size, he's pretty impervious to ball pressure because he can just see over everything. It doesn't matter what you do. Jokic is going to get into the teeth of a defense and create a high efficiency shot for himself or a teammate no matter what. He possesses a level of inevitability from that part of the floor that nobody else ever has. But he doesn't just make you pick your poison in these one-on-one on-ball situations. Jokic has an extremely versatile offensive impact. He's arguably the best screener in basketball, consuming huge amounts of space and unleashing his strength on defenders, and if he rolls against a traditional drop coverage, he's inevitably going to get to his floater, which he makes 63% of. Or, if you converge on him as a roller, he will immediately find the open shooter or toss up a lob to whoever's in the dunker spot. And it's worth noting, he and Aaron Gordon may legitimately have the best synergy of any duo ever. They are always on the same page. Your only prayer is that he pops and misses a three, but the man has shot 41% from deep in his playoff career on good volume, making those looks nearly as efficient as his floater, at least in the playoffs. Close out too hard, he hits you with the pump and go, creates an advantage, and can either nail the floater or dissect you with his playmaking. It's also very ill-advised to switch on screens when Jokic is involved, because if he has a guard on him, that's a free bucket. And Jamal Murray's a really good pull-up shooter, but you certainly can't trap him or hedge hard and give Jokic a 4-on-3, he'll dissect you. So you're screwed no matter what. Jokic also leverages his value as a screener by running handoffs that are effectively unstoppable too. The Nuggets score with 90th percentile efficiency on these actions because defenses struggle to get through this massive man and therefore find themselves trailing great three-point shooters. And if the catch and shoot look isn't there, a handoff can easily flow into a pick and roll with a running start for the ball handler. But if you overplay going over on the handoff, Jokic's teammate will cut and he'll deliver a perfect pass. So in a spot like this where the paint is clean, the defender can't chase over the screen because he knows if he did, the cut would be open for a free bucket. So he has to concede a wide open three. What if a guy flies in from the corner to blow up the handoff? All good. Jokic sees over you and delivers the pass on the money. Do you see my point? Every single look you throw at the Nuggets has a counter that Jokic will execute perfectly just about every time. He's also a uniquely great off-ball player for a big. He can fake a cut and then curl around a screen as a lethal mid-range shooter, having made 56% of his two-point jumpers this year, so he scores with 81st percentile efficiency off screens. He's also a very savvy cutter, and of course, if you're there to meet him off the curl, he can beat you with his playmaking because he is constantly reading the floor. He's also an effective spot-up shooter and keeps defenses honest with his floor spacing ability. Another absurd skill of Jokic's is his ability to run inverted pick and roll. He creates with 90th percentile efficiency there at 280 pounds. Defenses will often switch these actions initially because the screen defender is a guard or wing who would struggle in a traditional drop coverage, then frantically try to switch back or double because Jokic would eat that guy alive, and Jokic will capitalize on their scramble with his playmaking. He can also get into the lane to his floaters or toast teams who do play drop coverage with lobs, as the inversion of the screen puts a wing who isn't used to playing drop as the backline defender, meaning Aaron Gordon can probably get behind them and climb the ladder over them. If teams go under the screens, Jokic can legitimately rain pull-up threes on them. It's just another unfair action that weaponizes Jokic's unicorn skill set and takes defenses out of their comfort zone. And I'd be remiss not to mention Jokic's status as the best putback scorer in the league. He has a quick second jump, excellent reach, and absurd unrivaled touch around the rim. The All-NBA podcast tweeted out a great stat recently. Jokic has 20 more rebounds off his own misses than anyone else in the league, which really makes his scoring efficiency even better than his elite true shooting percentage indicates, because while those putbacks may count as 2 shot attempts, they only take up 1 possession. So Jokic scores with great efficiency in all these different ways, and this is the sort of rare all-around value that makes him different from great scoring and playmaking engines, even like LeBron James or Luka Doncic. Those are all-time offensive forces, but they tend to play a very ball-dominant style that can lead to stagnant team offense or inhibit other players from thriving with the ball in their hands. It's phenomenal for floor raising, but might not be the best for ceiling raising. Offense with Jokic is fluid and dynamic and works with anyone. He'll attack you from anywhere out of any action, scoring or playmaking, which means he fits with any supporting cast, and that makes him effectively the perfect offensive player, the ultimate floor and ceiling raiser at the same time. And then of course there's all the next level pure passing he does. Nobody capitalizes on their teammates' advantages more consistently than Jokic. Along with Tyrese Halliburton, he's one of the league's 2 best hit-ahead passers. And as he grabs over 12 rebounds a game, that leads to lots of good looks for his teammates in transition. And he is, without question, the greatest transition touchdown passer ever. With a hand in his face, he launches this 75 feet to hit KCP perfectly in stride. Aaron Gordon is just behind the defense, and Jokic instantly throws this 80 feet down court on the money. And whenever Gordon has a steal, he gets rewarded for running the floor hard. The number of instances just in the last few games where Jokic creates free points for his teammates in transition with passes no one else would make is absurd. He just doesn't miss anything, and he can make every single pass in the book. This 4-year run Jokic is on now is an unparalleled combination of scoring and playmaking volume and efficiency, both in the regular season and playoffs. And I mentioned that he's in a rare club with an argument as the best scorer and passer alive, but he's the only man who can also add rebounder to that list. And he is truly impervious to any defensive coverage. Just look at last year's playoffs. Minnesota tried guarding him with Gobert one-on-one and tried guarding him with Cat as the primary defender to have Gobert as a roamer, and Jokic just brutalized them anyways with his absurd physicality and shot making. He left AD so helpless one-on-one that the Lakers also tried guarding him with bigger wings like Rui Hachimura to have AD as a roamer, which worked for about a quarter, forcing him to settle for a couple tougher turnarounds and affecting some of his interior passes. But then Jokic mercilessly abused those mismatches and dissected the help for the rest of the series. The Heat tried some zone, since that had given everyone else fits throughout the playoffs. But Jokic might be the greatest zone buster ever, because if you can just get him the ball in the middle of the floor, he can see everything as a passer and dissect you, and his touch shots from that range are like layups. So don't do any of those things, but don't double, don't go small, don't leave him on an island. The list of don'ts when it comes to guarding Jokic is endless because there is no answer, no way to knock him off his A game. He gets what he wants. Accordingly, his impact on Denver's offense is almost incomprehensible. They played as a 92nd percentile offense with Jokic out there in 2022, even as Murray missed the whole season and MPJ played just 9 games, and every other year since his first MVP season, they've ranked in the 98th or 99th percentile as an offense with Jokic on the floor, and his on-off number offensively has been in the 99th or 100th percentile. So considering all this, scoring volume and efficiency, playmaking, versatility, team impact, and scaling to the playoffs, Let's compare Jokic to the other tier 1 offensive players in NBA history. Steph Curry is the greatest off-ball player ever and an unparalleled shooter who enables his teammates to work with constant advantages because of the attention that demands. But Jokic's physical imposition combined with his versatility gives him an advantage. If his perimeter shot is off, Steph can struggle, and hyper-physical defenders who hassle him off-ball can make life harder on him than anyone can on Jokic, who is going to get where he wants on the floor no matter what, and make perfect decisions as a passer, without having to dominate the ball. Magic Johnson is still the greatest passer ever to me and an underrated scorer. He was a walking mismatch with consistently elite efficiency, but Jokic is on another level as a scorer because of his physical dominance, and he has a more portable play style with more off-ball value. To oversimplify things, Jokic is kind of like a bigger, stronger Larry Bird. Hyper-versatile scorer, on and off-ball nightmare, tremendous shot maker, and unbelievably creative passer within the flow of the game. But Jokic's physical advantages just make him more efficient, and he's an even greater passer. So then we get to LeBron and Michael Jordan. Both LeBron and Jokic present you with the dilemma of overwhelming paint pressure while also being excellent passers if you help. Jokic is a more efficient scorer than peak LeBron and a better skilled shot maker, which really matters when it comes to clutch situations and beating defenses that wall off the rim. I'd also argue Jokic is a more inventive and accurate passer, and he's a better off-ball player who allows you more stylistic versatility, and clearly does more of the little things on offense. In the half court, Jokic is capable of purely dissecting you more perfectly, and he scales better alongside other on-ball players, but LeBron's clear edge is in transition. Peak MJ is the greatest scorer ever, a rim pressuring machine and a very skilled shot maker who excels on and off ball, and that balance is why I prefer his style a bit to LeBron's. He's also more of a problem in the open floor than Jokic. The difference is that as good a playmaker as he was, MJ leaves some opportunities on the table there and is a less efficient scorer. Jokic is a bit more truly automatic in creating great shots for his team no matter what. So when it comes to who leaves you most helpless, truly without answers or prayers, especially in the half court, I think Jokic is number one. He has solved offense. But I need to see one more playoff run before officially giving him the title of best offensive player ever. Last year was very arguably the best offensive playoff run ever, but Jokic also shot 46% from 3 and it was 20 games. So let's just see one more run. And to be clear, to anyone who wants to misconstrue this, we're talking purely offense and purely peak. And these tier 1 offensive players are all so overwhelmingly great that your ranking of them probably comes down to your subjective values. But there's no question Jokic makes a compelling case as the best offensive player ever, and he's proven that regardless of stage, regardless of matchup, and regardless of strategy. And if there's one thing he's made sure everybody knows this past year, it's that no matter who you are or what you do, you cannot stop him.